I'm Graham Stannard. Thank you for joining me tonight here on Phoenix FM. Here for Musical Meanderings until midnight. It's Thursday, the 5th of April. It's been an up and down week, but definitely on one of the ups, and joined here live in the studio by Mr. Andy Valiant from the fantastic stoner rock band Oak. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I had the wrong fader up, but yes, all good. Now we're here and plumbed in, and we're just talking about how nice it is to have a few moments, get a couple of nice songs on. As I discuss pretty much every week now, that this seems to be the process to the start of the show. So, and songs inspired by yourself and the band, because, of course, one of your taglines, at least on the Facebook page for Oak, is about your affinity for Caius.
That's right, yeah.
And so we chose Odyssey from the Welcome to Sky Valley album. I always tend to go to that album of their, catalogue, as it were, because I don't know, it's got a lot of the classics and they kind of launch into the songs really well.
Well, there's a particular sound on that album, Gardenia. It's a great way to start it. It's got cool. It's very cool. It's obviously very heavy, but there's a bit of an edge to it as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the vibe that is caught on most of the stoner rock sort of stuff that I listen to. Is it's it's cool, but it's got to be a bit of an edge to it as well.
And then you suggested the second song we played, Black Sabbath, Hole in the Sky, not a song that I was familiar with in there.
No.
But I'm glad I certainly heard it.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites as well. It's a bit later in their career, mid-70s by that time, but they've got a particular... Once again, there's a particular edge in that, and it's that guitar melody that comes in as well.
Yeah. And the rhythm, the groove to it.
Yeah, totally. And there's some really good drumming in that as well. But Ozzy's voice is fantastic in that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, so yes, you're here now, and we'll be having a conversation throughout the show, and we'll be speaking properly and introducing you and how things got going with what you're doing shortly. But we're going to be kind of bouncing songs off each other. Of course, we'll be playing yours shortly. But I wanted to share a song now from friends of mine. They're called The Cortege, and I spoke to you about them, and throughout the show tonight we'll be playing songs inspired by people we know. We'll be talking about the stoner rock and doom metal scene in London, but then there's those people that have been stalwarts on the show here on Musical Meanderings over the past months and years, like the Cortege now, like Harita over in Southend, Phil and the guys. Of course, Yinka and Sabata, we'll be hearing from them in due course. And so let's hear from Cortege now and their recent, I'm not sure if it's a year or so ago, Love and Land, the title track. That's the Cortege, the title track to their Love and Land EP. And so we're here on Phoenix FM and with Andy Valiant from Oak. And so, yes, good to thank you for joining me tonight. And kind of met you in London and headed over here.
Yeah, thanks very much. And thanks for swapping chairs with me as well.
Yes, we've had
we've had a chair race because I was sinking into the ground, and Graham's actually given me his own chair. So thanks very much.
No worries. It's always good to get things set up here properly as we get out. It's always more fun as well when we have actually people playing live music than kind of setting up all the microphones to have everything set up, and so we can hear the instruments as well. So you're here, and
we're out in Brentwood.
We're in Brentwood in Essex.
I don't think I've ever been here before.
Really?
No. And when Graham picked me up in the car, I was like, "Where's he taking me?" It's just like he's going on and on and on. And I was like, "Where the hell are we going?"
I gave you no indication as to where we were going.
Yeah. No, actually, but fair enough. We're here. It's cool.
And we made it.
Got a good chair.
We have. And so, it's been an interesting journey, I guess, continuing mine with music because, like I explained about maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, I got back into via doom metal, or that particular style of the detuned heaviness that I like. And then from there, the stoner stuff came in, and then I realized what a vibrant scene there is in London in the UK. It was also via Yinka, who we'll be hearing from soon. I was about to play it up in Chester. Then I met the 1968 guys, and then from there, obviously, Jimmy was wearing your shirt. The Oak shirt.
We were very good friends with the guys from 1968. They're a really cool bunch of people to hang out with at gigs, and they're big fans of the music as well. And whenever we play with them, support each other 100% and just have a really good time. It's interesting you talk about the scene and how vibrant it is. Well, it's something that me and Kevin, who couldn't be here tonight, who's also the co-founder of Oak, or pretty much the founder, to be fair, he said, do you ever look around and think that we're part of a scene that is just so alive, and we'll look back in years to come and go, what was the stoner rock scene all about? And stoner rock is nothing new. If I'm honest, it's basically just 70s heavy rock, but it's just obviously a little bit heavier, and the recording is a little bit different, of course. But it certainly feels like there's something. Is
there something that you're aware of in the difference in this type of recording compared to, like, for example, we heard from Black Sabbath and Caius, who are part of the roots of the trajectory? Do you know how they recorded what they did and how it's done now?
Would have been 8 tracks and 4 tracks, whereas we're purely digital now. Some people still use the 8 tracks and the 4 tracks, obviously, and even the old amps, and they pick everything from the 70s to get that sound. We don't. We just digital. We use everything digitally, but I think.
Is there no analog stuff used at all?
Yes, probably. Not that we use. Okay. But then once again, Kevin would be the best to talk to about this. I'm just one of those guys that turns up and stands in front of a mic and just.
But I like how you described your relationship, because I enjoy it when I see you live and the vibe you guys have together. You've all got your different elements. And of course, in the genesis of the band, as you said, you and Kevin kind of between you. I think you described it as you were the heart, he was the brain. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, he's definitely got. I don't have a brain, so.
And so I guess this leads me on to how. Let's get to the origins of you guys.
Well, Kevin formed the band in 2014 with another guy called Rob Sims, who played drums. And he played drums on our first EP, which I think we might hear some of.
We're going to hear in shortly,
in a bit. And they were shortly joined by a guy on bass called Scott Masson, who now is in Green Lung. Who are doing very well. And he's playing guitar because he's naturally he's a guitarist.
I'm due to speak to them actually soon.
And he joined, and then I, by chance, met Scott's girlfriend because I was doing a bit of acting. And I was just talking about the band that I was in at the time, a band called Ascion. And we got talking about singing and music, and she said, "Oh, Scott, my boyfriend Scott's in a stoner band. They're looking for a singer." And I was like, "Oh, fair enough." Like literally, like, all right, whatever. And I rang Scott up, and he said, "Do you want to come to an audition?" And I said, "Yeah." And before I was going to go to the audition, I was too tired from work, and I just went, I'm just not going to go. So I almost didn't go. And in the end, I pretty much flipped a coin in my head, and I went to the audition, and then that was it. And I'm glad that I did. And then we just went on and recorded music in Core Studios in Acton, and that was our first EP. Rob then left the band to go and do his own thing as well, and we got another guy on drums for a bit, and then we met Clinton. And so it's been like that for the last 3 years, really. We're just 3 or 4 years now. Just putting music together, playing gigs, and having a great time, to be honest with you.
Right. Have you noticed changes since, obviously you've had different band members, and then you've had these 3 EPs. Is there like a noticeable difference in this sort of
yes, most chapters? Definitely. The first EP we literally rehearsed and recorded in Core Studios. And that was all because Kevin was working there. Then he didn't want to work there anymore and moved on, so we couldn't use there anymore. And then we used another rehearsal studio. That had a lot to do with a different sound. And then the third EP, we used another rehearsal studio as well. So that's just one element that we're changing where we're actually recording has differences in your sound as well. And obviously lineup changes as well, nucleus of the band. One of the things for me is, if I'm really honest, I actually started writing lyrics.
Right.
I never used to write lyrics. I'd make sounds.
So, okay.
And then me and Kevin would formulate words. We'd say, that kind of sounds like a sentence.
So
Andrew.
Basically,
well done.
You'd be there, there'd be the sound of the music, the vibe of it, and you would just do noises to kind of go along with it.
To get the melodies, I just basically just go for it. And, just everything is very organic. Like So yeah, it can. They laugh at me and stuff. Sometimes I'll just come up with some really strange noises, but that's how you make. That's how you make.
It's interesting because again,
sound,
going back to Black Sabbath, Ozzy's voice is very much. Even though obviously you can kind of hear what he's saying to a degree, a lot of it is the harmony.
That's right. That's right. There's an added instrument. I mean, the voice is an instrument anyway. But really, is it? Because people have said to me, what you singing about in your songs, and I go, they don't want to know because it doesn't make any sense. But really, is it about that? When you go and see a band that's a really heavy band and the singer is singing, you can't really understand what he or she is singing. It's just but you go with it because it's almost this euphoria, like something is coming through that person's body and it's coming out of their mouth. Yeah. And that makes me feel something. Yeah,
obviously we're going to be talking quite a lot about your performance because there's definitely a vibe with you and what you do as the kind of front man, I guess, and the band sound. But in terms of this transition from the noises and the melody to the lyric writing, is there anything noticeable that you feel like you're doing with the creation of that, with the lyrics? Is there something you're sharing? Is there something
definitely.
You're processing?
I just started to realise that I have a format to tell stories if I want to, or create pictures if I want to, and instead of I wouldn't say be lazy or blag it. Actually think about it and think, what do I want to say? What do I want somebody to hear? Yeah. And I want it to be from my heart. So
it needs to be from your heart. Obviously, have to be, as you say, be aware of what people are hearing. But do you consciously look for that thing that we share with each other, if you know what I mean? That people will recognise?
I just try and be as honest as possible in myself, and I think by writing songs that are from you, it's going to connect with someone. That's all. The best art in the world comes from somebody's soul. And if that is then put out there, be it on a wall or in a song, it's going to connect with somebody. So that's deep stuff, isn't it?
It certainly is, and we'll be going there for sure. Continuing through the show. So let's start with From Oak One, and also. Now's a good time to touch on the artwork on your EPs because I must admit I'm a big fan of them. I've got the stag shirt that Jimmy wears, and so on the first EP you have this lovely lady with the kind of horns as well, and the kind of stag outfit, the coat, and then the Oak 2 has the stag. And then we have the latest single with the wolf.
With the stags.
Is that part of a story, do you think? Or
we said to this very talented artist over in America, we said, can you combine the EP covers for a single? And she's great. She'll give us a few ideas, and then we'll say, "Oh, it's not quite right." But don't give her much else, and then she'll somehow it will just fall into place. And she's great. She's called Unexpected Spectre.
I'll have to make a note of that because that's the kind of artwork that does resonate.
We've never met her. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know what she sounds like.
I think eventually you guys are going to have to meet her, at least have a Skype call or something.
Yeah, just because the artwork she does for us is great. And we just say we want it to be primal. We want it oak, the sound oak. It's earthy, like our sound. That's what we try to create.
Was it the decision behind it? Did you guys have a brainstorming session, or?
Oddly enough, Scott Masson, who you said you're doing an interview with Green Lung. He came up with the name, and there's a funny story behind that because Scott's actually half Zimbabwean, or he's got Zimbabwean origins, and. In Zimbabwe and South Africa, if you're a good lad, you're a great oak. And so he just said, look, he goes, "Oh, you're a great oak, eh?" He doesn't have a South African voice, but we always used to do it. And he said, "Why don't we call the band Oak?" And I said, "Yeah, all right." That's okay. And then there was a conversation about whether there should be an umlau, and whether oak should have an E on the end, but we just kept it nice and simple. Keep it simple,
because also the simple is the rooted as well, and that's part of that energy that you evoke.
Solid oak. It's done. And that's it. And that's kind of what we.
And also, it's definitely reflected in the music. So, looking forward to sharing this from the first EP back in 2015. And so, yes, with you and Kevin and Scott on bass and Rob on drums, here's Dissolve. There we go. So I certainly sort of, I was going to say see what you mean, but hear what you mean is obviously more appropriate, because the connection with Caius is obviously there, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
The arrangement at the start.
And it's a few years ago now, I suppose. 3 years ago.
Also, what I was going to say was with the vocals, because obviously, I can see what you mean about the just making a noise to kind of drive it along. But obviously, your vocals have also, I noticed from your new single, is that there's definitely an evolution in it as well. But also, even though you don't think that you are sharing anything, but also something's happening. You're letting something out.
Yeah, there's a few things in that, because I remember recording that song, and especially the outro to that song. Yeah. Trying to get these notes, and Kevin's like, that's not it, you're not getting it, you're not getting it, you're not getting it. And having to go back again and again and again. And I think because now I'm a lot more, personally, and I think we all are, a lot more used to being in a recording studio. Yeah. We're a lot more relaxed, and we're able to actually make atmospheres happen, because we're not thinking about, oh God, I'm in a studio. So I think there's an element of that as well. But yeah, there's all of that is just a bunch of noises as far as the vocals go. There's no story. I mean, there isn't. There's all sentences here and there, and I'm not running myself down, because, as you say, there's a vessel. You're connecting with something. Yeah. I remember we played a show a while ago, and we completely screwed it up. Yeah. And this guy came up to us and said, like, that was really inspiring. I've got no idea what was going on, but I'm inspired. And I thought, well, we did something. He didn't know what he'd just seen, but he'd seen something. He didn't know what he'd connected with. But really, is that not the point of rock music? It's primal. Yeah, it's supposed to. And
that's something that, again, coming back to your live performances, that certainly is brought forward, because your performance as a frontman, and it's interesting that you describe it as a performance, because there's something of you in it, but you are different. It is like there's this like completely masculine kind of presence at the front of the stage.
Yeah, do you know what? It's odd, because it's never been planned. Yeah. I don't know where it comes from. Yeah.
Is it something? Did you think that is something of you that you would like to be expressed that you didn't think was there when you were younger?
Perhaps there is. What it is this music has always just made me feel euphoria. Yeah. And it's made me feel, and this has been said so many times, but it makes me feel 100 foot tall. Yeah. And it just makes me stand up with my chest out. Yeah. And makes me...
And that's what you're doing when you're...
Yeah, it makes me bigger than I am. And, once again, someone said to me when I came on stage a little while ago, they said, I thought you were like 6'5", and I'm not. I'm like 5'8". Yeah. So I don't just burst the bubble, baby. But it's you become larger than life. Yeah. But I don't think you can fake it. Yeah. It has to be in there. You're extending the alter ego, probably the thing that you always wanted to be, probably when you were younger.
But has that had a reflection on how you actually are, on your true self? Because when I've only met you a relatively short time, but you seem very confident and have a presence about you. Is that something that's been helped grow from your performances?
I wouldn't necessarily say from my performances, but what I would say is, since especially being with Oak, I've had a lot more confidence, because I know this is what I want to do. Yeah. So it's like, whatever happens, I know that I'm just going to do this, and I am going to do this the rest of my life. Yes. That may sound nuts,
and
but that's what I love so much about it.
We've talked about this as well, and we'll probably touch on throughout the show, is that and I also speak about this on the Mental Health podcast here in Phoenix FM, is the this lack of knowing what your path is, or your journey, especially as a man. It feels like you have this sort of foundation of knowing what you're going to be doing, and then knowing the goal you're aiming for, and how much you can grow from that. And so you're basically living that example. Well,
I was thinking about this only a short while ago, that this all started when I first heard Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It literally, like, overnight, it just hit me.
Yeah.
Because I used to play rugby very competitively, and it's odd because I used to play for Cambridgeshire, and everybody at school played football.
Yeah.
And they all got girlfriends because they play football.
Yeah.
No one would come and watch the guys play rugby, you know. And then all of a sudden, I was watching this top 100 albums ever made, and Led Zeppelin pop up at like 26 or something, and it's Led Zeppelin 2, and they show this clip of them live at the Royal Albert Hall, which I think was 1970, but it might have been earlier.
Yeah.
And I was like, does that actually happen? You know, like that I've never seen cool before.
Yeah.
You know, I've been impressed by things, and I was like, well, that's it. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it took me a long, long time of doing a lot of other things before I actually went, no, this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so go and do it.
Yeah.
At whatever cost.
Yeah. And so you knew it at that age.
Yeah, totally.
And so this leads us on, because we wanted to play a song by Led Zeppelin, and so I'm going to do a live kind of plumbing in here now.
Yeah.
So what was the song that you suggested?
The Girl I Love, She Got Long Black Wavy Hair.
Yes, it's here. We can find it, and we can play it. Let's give it a go. So very early Led Zeppelin there. And we're discussing whether it might have been a cover, but it looks like it's a bit of a blend.
An adaptation. It's funny because that song's always stuck with me, because when I first bought the BBC sessions, because it's on there, I was like, when it comes in and that first phrase, it's just so, I don't know, it's just so powerful.
That's the bit, that's the adaptation.
And that's
because
the adaptation.
we just looked it up. It's from a 1929 blues recording. The Girl I Love, She Got Long Curly Hair by Sleepy John Estes.
Yeah. So the riff and everything, the music must be what they've created.
And also, again, looking at the journey in music, you can hear the influence, or that style of music, which
Blues.
brought on then bands in the 90s, like Black Crowes is a big example of that.
Yeah, totally. And obviously Caius a little bit later on as well. That song's, even if it wasn't a purely Led Zeppelin song, that's probably one of my favourites.
But I guess, again, that bands like these, that's how they originated, by playing songs that inspired them, like the Beatles did the same.
And B.B. King as well.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of their riffs, they've just like taken from some of the earlier sort of like blues artists, basically.
So
just made it heavy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But I do love that song. And the power in Robert Plant's voice is he never used to warm up or anything.
Right.
Well, that's apparently what I've heard, because obviously me and Rob have hung out, so we know, But I love that, because
we spoke about how in your recording process compared to you playing live, that you can actually, it takes you a lot longer to do the vocals on a song than the actual song creation.
I've got a lot better at it because my vocal cords have obviously strengthened, but it literally, like, we'll go into a recording studio with Kev and I'll start singing, and it's kind of going to have to be within the first half an hour.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, then I've tired my voice out, and Kev will just say to me, "You're tired now."
Yeah.
And then he's losing the intensity. Whereas
because
when you
he's
perform,
got a background in the production as well.
That's right. Because when you perform live, the adrenaline, the sweat, the atmosphere, it's already kind of been created before you've even got on stage.
Yeah.
But when you're recording, you're having to create that atmosphere in a cold room with walls and these things on your head that are restricting your movement and also
really restricting your connection with your surroundings, like you can feel the difference when you're wearing headphones in the tube, for example, and not having them on.
That's right.
When you don't have them, you're connected with the people around you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, funnily enough, when we use the cans, I have to have the music literally blowing my ears up. So
Sorry?
so I can get the notes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm out of key.
Yeah.
Because when we rehearse, we're that loud. So that's how I learn it. So I have to. So if anybody uses my cans after it,
like when you're used to having to speak when there's loud music around, you automatically speak louder.
That's right.
So you're having to project a lot more.
You're becoming that. You're having to adapt to that. So when the music is so loud, I then it's probably to do with bravery.
Yeah.
I then feel like I can block it out and and just go for it.
But then
and
this comes back to your journey with what the performance has brought to your vibe.
Yeah. As in the fact that I feel brave.
You push through. Yeah, you push through the bravery. You're as you are as a person.
Yeah.
Because what you practice, you kind of become.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It's intrinsic. It's in your body.
Yeah.
The live thing and singing live, it's authentic, isn't it? And it's in a moment, and you can be out of key live, but you can still capture an audience, and then you can listen back to it and think, God, that's terrible. But 40 people were smiling, watching, and they were out of key all night, out of time. I've seen a couple of bands where they've been shockingly out of time, like thrash bands, and thrash out of time is
so much out of time that Hall & Oates sang a song about it.
Yeah,
you're out of touch. I'm out of time.
I don't know that one. No, I saw a thrash band a few years ago, and really good thrash band normally.
Yeah.
But thrash out of time is like having orange juice after brushing your teeth, because it's literally just everything is clashing all the time, and they're looking around at each other. Let's try and get it back. No, we're going to have to stop the song, but we can't stop the song because we've got to carry on. And it just goes, we've got to sort it out, guys. So yeah,
that's not going to work.
No. I've just caught me jumper on me. There.
So to have the continuation then in your voice and the recording side of it, let's go to Oak 2.
Excellent.
This the EP where I first became familiar with your music. Of course, the stag shirt, of course, famously.
Well, that EP actually did pretty well. Actually, it got played a lot, and it got us out there, and on a lower level, should I say, got us out there, Wembley Stadium. But no, it got us heard to the right people for now, and there's a different sound again, because even though it was recorded in the same studio, as I say, we wrote it and rehearsed it in a different place.
Yeah.
So there's a different vibe.
Already it feels different.
A different drummer, Clinton, who's now our current drummer.
Yes. Yeah. And the drummer where I first saw you in Deptford, and was really impressed. And
He's a very, very good drummer.
Yeah. And
he's another person that feels.
Yeah.
He literally, he doesn't know any of our songs.
Yeah.
Doesn't know them at all. Doesn't know the names. Doesn't know. But if you go, it goes like this. Right. He knows it instantly. So he is he's a performance animal. This is like
or an artist.
In him, an artist. Yeah. There's no way of framing him. It's like it just comes out.
Isn't this something that we can? This is a whole conversation in itself, and something that I think about a lot in the structure that we're given in the world around us and how we have to live is something that takes us out of that way of being, and as humans who can create,
then we've got a vessel,
and then we are naturally like that, but then to have to behave in certain ways and to have this sort of rigid framework.
Then it does come back to recording, because then you do have to. That's why playing live is a hell of a lot easier than recording for me anyway, and probably for a lot of musicians. But then you get musicians who are great in the studio and then not so good live. But for me, it's because there's that freedom live, and that's what. But when you're in the studio, it's like, right, well, we're going to do that again and again and again, and then you lose the essence, and then you're in your head, and then you're thinking too much about it. And for me, that's when I strain my vocals. And I should imagine when a guitarist busts a string, because then he's like, playing too hard, trying to make something.
And so, because you were saying that when you do one song for a recording, you can blow your voice for that period of time.
Yes, we were saying that before, weren't we?
And then when you play a gig, you can play a whole series of songs and you're fine.
Absolutely fine. And then go and have a conversation like with someone, and not a problem. And you said about touring, how would that affect? We haven't done long tours, but it wouldn't affect me at all. But in a recording studio, I can blow. So if it's not in half an hour, we lost it. And
so that's because you're having to create the whole vibe from nothing.
Yes,
the room, everything.
And then you strain. You can strain. And you get. That's where you get so tired. I mean, half an hour on stage. I'm dog tired at the end of it. But half an hour in a studio, I'm more tired.
Yeah.
And I'm more sweaty. And then
in a studio, you have to spend like 5-8 hours because you've booked the time. You need to do it.
Yeah. That's right. So they're very different art forms. Both of them very amazing. I love listening to music that's been recorded, obviously, and I love going to see bands live.
Yeah.
You know, because they play the songs and sometimes they're different, and it's like, wow, it sounds very different live.
Yeah.
And look at the energy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And so to hear the evolution is very interesting because, you know, like I said, I was more familiar with your material on Oak 2, and then hearing your single this week, then it makes sense that there is something that's evolving in your voice.
Yeah, and we've had a lineup change as well in the single that we're going to hear later, but we haven't released anything for 2 years.
Yeah,
we've been quite quiet writing the latest EP, and we haven't played a lot of gigs purposefully because we wanted to spend time now focusing on writing. Because every time you get a gig offer, then you have to rehearse for the gig, and the writing then goes out the window. And anybody who's in a band will know exactly what that's like. It's like sometimes gigs can slow things down as much as you want to play live all the time.
But you are keeping your edge sharp.
Yes, and you're still getting out there and being seen.
And people, exactly. That's people are seeing your material. So let's hear something from Oak 2. So as you say, a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Is this...
And so, it's a song actually that I've played 2 or 3 times over the past few weeks, Against the Rain. A wonderful little outro there. Against the Rain from Oak 2 by Oak. Yes. And Andrew Valiant is joining me here in the studio, the front man and one of the founder members of Oak here in Phoenix FM. This is Musical Meanderings on a Thursday evening. We're halfway through the show, believe it or not.
Already?
Yes, already. And well, halfway through, you know, I've gone beyond midnight before, so it's just how the flow goes. But certainly so far it's been fantastic, and to literally hear the evolution in your music as well, because obviously in the scene in London, I'm used to seeing the bands live.
Yeah.
Because actually that reminds me that there's been transitions in general in the bands in the scene, because there is a noticeable difference somehow in the recordings to the live performances. I guess what came to mind was Witch Hound. Yeah. You know how they the vocalist left, and they've continued without the vocalist. Yes. And had a different evolution. And well,
they're one of my favourite bands, actually.
Yeah, we'll be hearing from them in a second. Actually, that came to mind, and when I was playing that, so we'll be hearing that them. And unfortunately, not their new music yet, but yeah,
they do something which is very, very difficult, which is they managed to hold an audience for half an hour with not speaking at all. Yeah, and that is a very I'd take my hat off to them, because I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm a singer, I can't play instruments, but the way they build their set, the way that their songs are like, it's almost like, going to sound like I'm really like bowing down to them right now, but they build this, it's like an orchestra.
Yeah,
they build this like a mountain with these guitars, and it's riff after riff after riff. Yeah. But it's never
the sequence.
Yes, but it's never crushing. Yeah. Well, it's heavy as hell, but it's never like too much. Yeah. And that's what I mean about without having a singer. Yeah. Or is you?
I guess an example I would see them is like Yuri Gagarin, the Swedish band. Right. That kind of psychedelic kind of stoner heaviness to them as well. They don't have a singer. They got a synth as well, which kind of adds a different element. But it's the same kind of thing where it's like more like progressive rock. Yes. This was like a journey.
It is a journey. Song. It's a story. Yeah. But you're not actually saying anything. Yeah. And Witch Hound do it really well.
Yeah, and to be able to do that is, fantastic.
I do love seeing them. I've seen them live a lot. There was a time when I was seeing them almost every week.
Yeah, and fortunately, they are, like I've said the past few months, is that they curate a gig at the Big Red in Holloway Road once a month.
They do, and that is one hell of a draw. Yeah, you know, it is free, obviously, at the Big Red, because it's obviously a pub, but there's about 300, 400 people there.
Yeah. Because they got a vibe anyway because of who's there already.
Yeah, and the stages.
And you can see that the people that are there that came to the bar, they're really happy that they're there, that the music's on.
And it becomes actually the focus. Yeah. Whereas I've played gigs there in the past where people are like, oh, there's bands on tonight. Yeah. But that has become, it's like, oh yes, they put bands on, and we've come to see the bands, and they clear the tables out, because that's my pet hate, when you go to a place and there's tables. What is this, a cabaret act? No, this is a rock concert, right? And they clear the tables out, and people come in, and you get this big stage, and it's lit really well, and the sound is fantastic, and you get your head blown off in there, and it's the gigs there are great.
Yeah. Yes, and that's happening a bit because on one hand, and also again, this is something else we can talk about. You can focus on the fear and the bad things that are happening. Like you can focus on, oh no, there's like venues closing left, right, and center.
Oh, gotcha,
some classic ones, but at the same time, stuff is happening. There are venues that are still there, and then stuff's going on.
More positive when it comes to these things. Things change and things move, but there will always be music, and there will always be people that want to make music and want to go and see it.
Yeah,
and you can say that this venue's closed down when another one's opened up. You just got to go somewhere different for it. And this music scene, especially this scene, is just going to keep going and keep going.
And one thing I love as well is how you guys support each other. Like your connection with 1968 and how you guys you really kind of you big each other up, but then but everyone bigs each other up. Like the best example was I was speaking to Rob from Witch Hound. They had that gig down in New Cross where it was supposed to be like a few bands, like not quite an all-dayer like you did at the Black Heart, but there's a few bands, and the guy that was the promoter or the sound guy didn't show up.
That's right.
And so between,
I was there. I was playing that gig as well.
Okay.
Actually, yes.
And between the bands, we made it happen.
Came together, and there was people who didn't have the right gear, and it's just like, look, we're here to play a show, and everybody turns up, watches the other bands, and supports the other bands. It certainly makes you look like you've got a bigger audience than you have, especially if you put the all-dayer on.
Yeah.
It's funny, if I have a minute to...
Please,
So last year, Matt Ainsworth from Trevor's Head and myself put on a show called Stone Frequency at the Black Heart.
Yeah.
We got 8 bands, and it was a massive success. Sold out every. The capacity is 150. Yeah. But you got to remember there was 8 bands, so we must have had over capacity in the venue. That makes no sense to me. But anyway,
I guess it was all day. So and also you can come in and
people
out.
were coming and going, and that's why it worked. So there was enough space there. Yeah. But
in Camden.
In Camden at Black Heart, and we're doing it again this year. It's on July the 28th at the Black Heart again. Widows are headlining. Admiral Sir Cloudsley Shovel are playing as well, one of my favourite bands. The ethos behind the whole thing that Matt and I put on is we just put on the bands that we love, and that is it. I just want to see these bands, and yes, I want to be on the same bill as these bands, but really it's just I just want to see these bands live, and that's all it is. That's all it comes down to. And last year was such a success, and you talk about people helping each other out. Everybody pulled together on that one. So that's happening. July 28th, Black Heart in Camden.
Fantastic.
Stone Frequency Part 2.
Stone Frequency, right. And I'll be discussing that over the coming weeks and months.
Thank you.
And that brings to mind, and when you mentioned Trevor's Head, is another event happening the first May bank holiday, is the Desert Fest.
That's right.
Across all of the venues in Camden. From Roundhouse all the way through the Electric Ballroom.
The Devonshire Arms is included now even, as well.
Yeah. And so what a lineup. And Trevor's Head are included. And great to see all these elements of this London scene that have been working so hard being supported.
Trevor's Head really, really deserve that because they've been putting on shows down in Deptford for as long as I know. I don't know whether it had been going on. You'd have to speak to them. But they put these shows on once a month again, I think. And... they just go in there and they make it happen, and they are fans of the scene, and that is it.
But all you guys are,
totally. Which is, and you can tell that that's genuine because people are just so into this music, talking about it. Have you heard this band? What label are they on? Everyone knows what label bands are on as well. It's that detail.
And I just pulled up the lineup to see what local vibes are happening, because obviously we have the big headliners, obviously Monster Magnet. At the Roundhouse, High on Fire on Saturday. Because
is Nebula playing this year? I think Nebula are there.
Yeah, they are on Sunday.
One of my favourite bands of all time.
Sunday evening. Elder, as well. Planet of Zeus. Discuss them. Napalm Death at Electric Ballroom. So
which is. To be honest, is a bit odd for Desert Fest, Napalm Death, a grindcore band. But at the same time, why not?
They remind me of Motorhead, who bridge a lot of genres, and they're just who they are. Yeah. And also brings to mind catching up with Kay from Black Orchids, because I remember going with her to see at the Kentish Town Forum a big lineup with Napalm Death and Obituary. They're it was actually Obituary that got me back into metal in a bigger way after kind of being away for a little while. So they're kind of a bridging band.
I saw them years ago. I saw them at Wacken. Over in Germany. I think it was 2005 or 2004. I can't remember. And it had just rained, and the whole they cover like. But rain doesn't stop a festival, especially in Germany, especially a metal festival. Yeah. So they just covered the whole ground in hay.
Yeah.
So it just had a bunch of drunk metalheads rolling around in the hay, all in their hair. Like it was just rolling around, like,
that brings a whole new definition to having a roll in the hay.
Having a roll in the hay, yeah. With a drunk metalhead watching Obituary, and it's raining. That's romance.
That's actually like... you could even describe that as an unpleasant film, but in another perspective, it could be fun.
I've got many stories from Wacken, not savoury enough for the radio, but there's a couple of things that I will say. Is one year we went there, and well, this happens every year. I don't want to talk about. Yeah. People get so drunk that they don't put their tent up, but their tent becomes a blanket. And they just wrap themselves in their tent blanket.
That sounds very adorable.
Yeah.
Okay, so to celebrate the scene in London, let's discuss. We spoke about Witch Hound, and I keep coming back to this song until I hear the new material. I'm looking forward to catching up with them. Yes. The Witch Hound EP from 2015. The bonus track encapsulates all of it. Hourglass.
This is Phoenix 98 FM. 98 FM.
So there we go. Just, continuing the wonderful examples of the scene that's occurring at the moment, not just in London, but up in Chester. 1968, of course, from up there, when I saw them with Yinka from Sabata, up there at the wonderful, I forget the name of the venue, but it's a beautiful little seaside, riverside bit there in Chester.
Is it on the Wirral? Or is that... No,
not quite, no, it's not quite, but this beautiful ex-warehouse on the river there. Kind of a big pub, and then this little bit, and like a venue downstairs. Yeah. And in 1968 played first, and then Sabata, which we'll hear from in a little bit. But and obviously great exponents when I first heard them, and the kind of groove and their power and the sound was fantastic. And you just heard their Vorpa from their latest Fortuna Havana EP.
They've got an album coming out later. They signed to Heavisec Records.
Yes, I saw that on their
They've got an album coming out later. I'm not sure whether it's later this month.
Are you familiar with that record label?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of... I think 1968 are perfect for them.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of psychedelic stuff on there.
Okay.
And it's not just stoner and doom.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, as I say, just psychedelic stuff. And 1968
can bridge a lot of that, can't they? They can really bring a lot of these elements in.
I think they're perfect for that label. I've always liked 1968 from the first time I saw them. I love their name as well.
I spoke to them about this obviously when I saw them, and and they said because of look at the music that was released in that year.
They just wanted to sound like it.
Put 1968 in a Google search, and of course it makes sense.
It does. That's what's cool about them, is they sound like their name.
Yeah.
The two go together.
Yeah.
You hear them, and then you hear that they're called 1968. You go, that's right. And then you go, this is a band called 1968. You go, I bet they're going to sound like this. And they do. They've done that very, very well.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was talking to Sam from 1968, and he was saying it's a bit tough being called 1968 because if you type in 1968 band, you get the band or any band from 1968. Yeah. But I know I don't care.
I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, because they're one hell of a band live as well.
Yeah,
like whenever I see them, you just get. I've got a T-shirt that says "loud as." On the back of it.
I was wearing that here when the Black Orchids were here.
And they are so loud. I remember when I saw them at the Dev, and they weren't officially part of Desert Fest, but the Dev did a night, an extended night, and I think they were playing the same time as Sleep.
Right.
And I went, I'm going to go and see 1968. And I was watching them play, and I couldn't hear for 2 days after that. I literally
and you can imagine how loud Sleep would have been.
Yeah, exactly. But the only other band that ever did that to me was when I saw Electric Wizard on the Dope Throne tour.
Yeah,
I think it was in 2000 down at the Garage.
Right.
Supporting Nebula.
Yeah. And
I remember getting tickets, and I was with my first ever girlfriend, and we went down to the Garage, and we watched. And she didn't like Electric Wizard at the time, and she was like, oh no, that band Electric Wizard are playing as a support act. But by the end of it, she was converted as much as I was. But I tell you what, I couldn't hear ambulance sirens
Really?
or crossing the road. I couldn't hear beep, beep, beep. That was gone.
I must admit, now I have to say that at some point when I know it's going to be loud, I have to put earplugs in because of the tinnitus and stuff that kicks in after a certain point.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Could it be my age?
Well, it hasn't happened to me yet, and I'm not an earplug wearer.
Oh, fantastic.
Everyone else in my band is,
right.
and I go, no, I want to feel it. That one's really soft.
There must be something in that for sure. But then before that, we're discussing Witch Hound, the Witch Hound EP from 2015. It seems like yesterday because in terms of the sound, it's the what they call the bonus track on the EP, but that's
one hell of a bonus, isn't it?
It's mighty enough.
Yeah,
to be
just make everything just sounds like, as I say, like a mountain.
Yeah,
you know, if a mountain had a sound, it would sound like that.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows in the sound, the kind of. Yeah, it kind of comes back a bit, and then suddenly it's more in after it, and also to hear the transition from that with the singer to them now without, and they've been able to bridge it quite comfortably.
Bridge that gap very well. And as I said right at the start of the show about the sound being cool, and both those bands, you can sit there and you nod and you smile and you go, this is cool. Yeah. You know, I know it sounds a bit vague what I'm saying, but it's something, it's pleasurable. Yeah. It gives you a sense of euphoria, a sense of everything's going to be all right kind of thing.
I mean, it kind of answers itself when I say this, but are you optimistic in how the scene's going to pan out?
Yeah, as long as everyone keeps like
showing up and enjoying, and enough people
absolutely,
are, for sure.
You know, but the thing is, it's weird because either there's been a resurgence in the last couple of years, because I remember listening to Orange Goblin back in 2000. Yeah, it was cool. It was amazing then. Yeah. So has the scene either just exploded in the last couple of years, or has maybe my band has become a lot more involved in the scene? I don't know. Maybe the scene has always been this cool because it certainly feels that there's nothing wrong with what's going on right now, and if we carry on playing the music that everybody's playing right now, I mean, I think
it comes back to that, what's that experiment with the cat in the box, that you don't know what the situation is until you open it. I was the same. I've literally only came into the scene, I've discussed a few times that I wasn't really too sure what was going on with it until I dove back after seeing Obituary Live those couple of times and Paul Bearer, and then suddenly then you kind of do those examinations on Bandcamp and similar things on YouTube, and you learn what else is happening. Then suddenly, then you realise that Sleep were happening since the 90s and all this stuff.
Yeah. So it's weird. I think Stoner and Doom, maybe it's become a lot more popular. Yeah, it's starting to be played at Wacken, which was purely a heavy metal festival, really, and it's starting to get into Glastonbury as well. Yeah. It's starting to get the odd Stoner band as well. So, I mean,
I just wonder, sometimes these things happen as a reaction. It's like a pendulum swinging. I think things got too light at some point, and people wanted the big feeling when they got at a gig and have that
wall of
impact.
Sound, the tribal, a little bit nasty, sexy, and a cool vibe.
It's there's something about the heaviness, and just you don't have to even do much. There's not even like a mosh pit so much as that. You're not even just if you nod your head or something.
It's weird because
there's a groove to it.
When we play live, I mean, I come from a sort of thrash background. I used to listen to Creator and Sodom and Destruction when I was growing up, and it was all mosh pits and head banging and I'll be out there giving and I'll look at the audience and I'm like, why aren't they moving? Yeah. And in my head, I'm thinking they're not having a good time. Maybe they're not having a good time. But I've got used to that now. Yeah. And I'm thinking, no, they're just actually taking in. Yes. They don't want to, start beating on each other. Yeah, because
not
really what we're there for.
Then you're not... You're kind of, there's something happening, but you're not really into the music.
No, you maybe have gone up to a euphoric level, but you're not. There's no need to push anyone around. Yeah. You're literally admiring a performance or a sound or a feeling, and you're there and you're just going, this is cool. Yeah. And I love a good headbang, as you've seen that. And I'll literally stand at the front and I'll bang my head to all of this stuff because that's what it feels right for me to do. And that is purely an appreciation to what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, and so this leads me on back to Oak and your band.
Oh, right.
That this kind of continuation, because obviously, when we kind of got the vibe of Oak 2, and what you were singing about, A Bridge Too Far Against the Rain, comes back to actually writing lyrics, and something that means something to you.
Yes.
And so, you kind of, is it a kind, what's the expression now? I've forgotten. Cathartic?
Yeah, it's
by getting it out there. Are you like, let's say, for example, if you're writing about somebody, are you hoping they hear it and something happens, or are you just letting it out? And
I think for me, it's about going through experiences and writing it down and having the opportunity to just get it out.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get something out of your soul, whether it's I'm so excited because this has happened, or whether it's like I can't believe that this has happened in my life. Whatever it is, get it out and sing it with all the passion that you have in your soul, and get it out and get it recorded or play it live or whatever you have to do. Yeah, I mean, the title "Love Is Falling" is probably giving away a bit that perhaps.
But I mean, I guess I had a bit of a bone to pick on that front, because I guess it's come back to some of the recent stuff we talked about, because you picked me up on that front, because I found myself going down a bit more of a perhaps negative or pessimistic avenue of what is happening around us, and some of that is imposed, some of that is something that we're being led to believe.
Yes.
But if we, as you reminded me, that if you look around us and the interactions we have with the loved ones and even people around us that we meet in the street and smile and say hello to, things are actually okay.
Yes.
And so what happens in these interactions is that if you bring love to it, and even
open mind,
and also I guess something that I'm been processing is that in perceived things in relationships that aren't working out as you would have liked to have expected, or you expected would work out, or things that you wanted to happen, just by bringing love to them, because love has no structure, love has no expectations. It just is what it is. So I'm interested when I saw the song title for this new single from the upcoming EP. When I saw "Love Is Falling," it brought a lot of questions to mind. As
in, I suppose, because when I looked at that title, I actually thought, should we call it that? Would I change the title? Because it could mean generically across the world, couldn't it? It could mean like the care for one another is falling. For me, it's just like the lyrics are "Love is falling off of me," because it basically means whatever was going on in my life that time was coming to an end. So it was falling through. So you're not falling in love; it's actually love is falling off of you. And that's what it was about.
That could be perceived to be so. There's so much love; it's falling off of you, through you, and then onto others. Or is this?
No, it was more just. It was like it's falling off. It's not. I'm not surrounded in it anymore. It's literally like coming off of me.
But you feel it. That it's not like an end to anything, or it's just a chapter that closed.
It was a chapter that closed.
Okay, but there's definitely going to be more around the corner.
Of love?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course there is. It's not just it doesn't just end, does it?
No, absolutely. So let's hear it then. Also the wonderful video as well, if you go to the Oak Facebook page.
If you go to the Facebook page, it's a pinned post.
Yeah.
So it's just at the top of the page, and then you'll follow to
and you'll find it by going to Oak Stoner.
If you go to Oak, if you just type in Oak, Love Is Falling on YouTube, of course, you'll get the there
we go. So let's have a listen to it then, from the upcoming EP, and continuing the theme of these beautiful pieces of art on the covers. Now it's the wolf with the stag's antler in its mouth. Here's "Love Is Falling" by Oak. To hear continuing evolution there, just not in terms of the band or only in the band, but your voice. It's definitely like we've heard the sequence from the first EP, as you say, the different recording facilities, techniques.
It must be said also, as we've evolved, we probably take it a lot more seriously. And
that makes a difference. We discuss a lot about what you want to do now in terms of the practicing and everything.
Yes. So when Kevin and I work just on vocals, we do it at a comfortable time for me. So I work much better in the morning than at night, which makes sense because you've been talking all day.
Yeah.
So we'll get in the studio really early and we'll just bosh out those songs.
Yeah.
And yeah, that works a lot better for me. And just, as you say, now that there's actual lyrics, I actually can go away and rehearse those, whereas it isn't done so organically in the studio.
Yeah.
Which can have a strange effect sometimes as well. But I think we've all stepped up a game, and I certainly think that is a single. If you listen to that, it doesn't really sound. There's not like it's a punchy thing.
Obviously, it's reflected in how you've released it because there's been a theme, with your EPs and now the thing as a thing on its own.
And it's odd because we never thought we're going to make a single.
Yeah.
And then we wrote the thing and we went, that's a single.
Yeah.
So it just came out of it. Yeah. It was just just get that out there. Just smack. And then we thought, well, we might as well do a video because everyone wants to do a video. So you either want to play for England or do a music video. Yeah. So we did that, and it just has. We'll see where it goes.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Exactly. And then, well, obviously on the back of that will be the new EP.
Yes, which is
another 3 songs, so 4 in total again.
4 songs. Yeah. This is with a few little bits and interludes and all the rest of it to give it vibe and a different vibe.
So it's like a progression into an album on its own.
Yes, it's actually it's getting close to album length actually.
Yeah.
It as 4 songs actually. Yeah. But that's coming out on. It's called Oak 3.
Yes,
and it's coming out on May the 7th.
Okay. And so we'll be heralding that here in the show over the coming weeks. And so, looking forward to hearing more about that. And, it just makes a lot of sense then, just the progression, taking things more seriously.
Yes.
And as a result, how you approach things is different. I did kind of forget where I was going with that. But...
well, I think that the thing about... sometimes it takes... I think it takes a good couple of years, and suddenly you have a few songs, and you go, actually, this has become more than just... Because I've never really saw it as a hobby anyway, because I've spent a lot of time as a performer. I did a lot of acting for a few years as well.
What got you into that?
What got me into that? I don't know really. I thought I just wanted to be Oliver Reed. And I just started doing acting when I was about 18. Probably about 16.
I can see you as an Oliver Reed or who's the chap with the voice?
Brian Blessed. And I just got into that, and then I was part of a theatre company for a while, and I just loved playing Kings. But I was too young to play Kings. I was only 23 at the time.
But then you can only get there by practicing.
Yeah, that's true. And but they were always like, "Oh, can you cut your hair?" And I said, "No, I'm listening to Robert Plant since I was 13. I'm not going to cut my hair for some part in an amateur show that no one's ever going to see, am I?" So I was breaking away from acting, and that's what, because basically what happened was that I started off obviously into music, and my first ever band was a band called Last Child, with a friend of mine called Seb Frey, who played on the drums, and then we sort of broke up, as you do. You're 18, you don't really know what you're doing. So, and then I just went into acting, and then woke up about 13 years later, and just, why am I turning my back? It was like I've come close to turning my back on what I love so much.
You just reminded me of something in that we have these chapters in life, and it's always good to embrace the thing that you think you want to pursue and is going to be the thing. And you're going to embrace it so much that you've got everything that you need to get out of it. Yeah. And then you're almost like ready for the next stage. And then you can comfortably move into it because you know you've made the most of your previous thing, not just like flitting around, as it were.
I think I was just kind of running away from it, really. I don't know why, but I'm just so glad I sort of came back to it, and because metal's my life. And
like what you're talking about with the evolution in the creation and the recording process, it's a craft. And then, like any craft, when you know that it's a passion that you want to pursue, you will naturally want to do better at it.
Yes, and do anything really to make it
better and get it out there.
I mean, I remember once I lost my Oyster card and I had to walk about 6 or 7 miles to get to a gig, to play a gig. Yeah. And I remember once Clinton fell off his motorbike on the way to a gig. Right. Did his arm in, still came and played the gig. Right. You know, it's that kind of like, it's how much you want to play.
Yeah, it's like when I spoke to Reid Mullen from Corrosion of Conformity.
Oh, right.
He said that he started the European tour, the first night in Cardiff, and he tore his rotator cuff. Yeah. And he didn't know that's what it was, but he couldn't lift his arm up above a certain point, so he lowered the cymbals so he could hit them.
But yeah, then
he just continued the tour.
But oddly enough, that it comes back to the conversation about adrenaline, and atmosphere. Yes. You can push through that. Yeah. But if he was like on his own in a little cubicle in a studio, would he have bothered continuing at that point? Probably not. You know. The mind is an amazing thing, and it will keep you going. Yeah. Or is it the mind, or the mind is a tool that will do what it needs to do when there's that momentum behind it of what else is happening? All these other inputs around, like you just say, there's a crowd. At that time, he probably was out of his mind in the sense he was in his...
he was doing.
I mean, there's been cases... I mentioned earlier about rugby, and I'm a big fan of rugby. There's been cases where rugby players have broke their fingers, broke their arm, and played the whole game. Yeah. Or
that Man City goalkeeper that broke his neck in the 50s.
Yeah, absolutely. But something just keeps you going. It's that survival instinct, probably. Yeah. You're part of something. You've got to keep going. Yeah. You know, because when you stop, it's going to hurt.
Yeah. And so to continue then, to kind of keep the genre going a little bit, but now a bit more locally in Essex, back to Southend, and friends Phil, Ad and Colin, the beautiful trio called Harita. I spoke about them before, and looking forward to meeting them. And this is from their album Ghost of the Sun in 2012, and now they're finally creating their new album. And just to give you an indication of what they're like, it is sort of fantastic, rocking 3-piece. Don't know how you describe them. As not quite stoner, but it's like heavy rock, basically. Very blues influence, but also I love how melodic they are, the intricacies they produce in their music. But just check it out. From the Ghost of the Sun, here's Otra marvelous. Harita, Phil, Colin, and Adam. Now getting ready to release their long-awaited new album, and good to hear them again. Otra one of the highlights from the Ghost of the Sun album 2012. And so over in Southend as well, and just good to keep tuning into what's happening around here, around Brentford and Billericay and Phoenix FM here, where I was trying to stay tuned with what's going on, which is fantastic. And thanks to you, Andy, for
thank you.
Kind of coming along and sharing your music as well.
It's been a pleasure. It's been good fun. Thank you very much.
Oh no, thank you. And again, wonderful conversation. And how do you kind of see things unfolding for Oak and getting the single out there?
I mean, so far it's going as well as I thought it would. The single. It's tough at this level because obviously we don't have a huge amount of promotion for this stuff. But I'm a strong believer in if the product is right, then it will do the talking itself. Yeah,
because one thing that is interesting now these days, it's an interesting time. This sort of, I call it the post-record company time, even though there's record companies still. Yeah. Bands are having to do work on the clerical side, you could call it, or the...
It's the DIY of everything.
And I think this is something beautiful has come out of this, because this whole business model of the record company, where they still happens, especially in the pop scene, where they throw money at artists to get something out there, and then they recoup the money from them and pay the artist, I don't know, some percentage of it or whatever. Yeah. But since, on the kind of grassroots level, that bands and artists have to get by and make it happen themselves, it's natural, because they're, at the end of the day, artists, that they're going to come up with creative ways to get stuff out there probably in better ways than the executives in these record companies would have done it.
You're completely in control of what you do.
Yeah,
nobody's. And
that's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously,
not at all.
You don't have some of the range that is possible at the record company level. But having said that, and it's reminded me of what I came across recently, in that before the big kind of record company time from the 60s onwards, music was more local. Actually, you only the music you heard was at the when you'd go to the pub or certain venues locally. It's only since some of the bigger, I don't know, is it the technology, the radio, something that kind of brought away for like a mass kind of
But
media.
think about the charts. Chart music now is non-existent.
Yeah. There's still a chart, but it's for a certain genre.
That lasted. How long did that last?
The hit parade.
Yeah, exactly. How long did that lasted? Hardly any time. Yeah. Right, like a speck in the ocean of music. Yeah. Right. And now people have gone, well, who cares? I'm going to go online. I'm going to listen to what I want to listen to, and I'm going to go directly to the source. I'm not going to have it dictated. I'm going to go looking for it, and I'm going to find exactly what I'm into. Yeah. I don't have to go, well, obviously it's at number one in the charts, so it must mean also it's good music.
And also you can find new music as well, because one thing you have to be wary of on the internet is that, like through Google and YouTube and things like this, you will be shown music that's like what you've been listening to. So you have to kind of make sure that you do try and branch out a little bit. But one of the beautiful things about what's available to us now is things like Bandcamp, for example.
Yes.
What a wonderful resource that is. You're able to create a profile and create a way.
You do the whole thing yourself.
Yeah.
And we've sold quite a bit through Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Just simply because people have somehow we've been picked up somewhere, and it's kind of gone. The other thing that's really good is a channel called 666 Mr. Doom and Stone Meadow of Doom. Yeah. These guys just put your EP up there, and people just hear it.
And I mentioned the post-rock vibe as well, where post-rock dwells and people like that.
Right, yeah. And you can just all day, I'm very lucky for what I do in the day job. Yeah. I have free reins over the sound system. And I just go on YouTube and I listen to maybe 4 or 5 different albums, EPs a day. Yeah. Which are uploaded every day. Yeah. Which means I'm hearing a hell of a lot of fresh music directly from the artist. It's not been record label, no like massive promotion. It's actually really, truly, organically just come to me straight away. Yeah. I've never heard of these bands before. Yeah. Bang!
So you're trying it
in my head.
Yeah.
So
fantastic. So there's optimism. Maybe not 100% in the kind of material gain or the money side of it, but in terms of the continuation of creation, I think there's a lot of optimism to be had, and the possibility for people out there to listen to it and sustain the vibe.
If the scene that we're involved in carries on as positive as it is, then it's never gonna die. It's gonna keep going, because it is just the gigs I go to see, the gigs that I'm lucky enough to play. Yeah, they have such a great feeling about
and
them.
The energy of the scene is in the live performance.
Most definitely, it's a live performance. It's a live event. It's a live show. I love it. I love being part of it. And if it ended tomorrow, I'd be very sad. But at least I got to taste some of it, because it has been amazing, really, the last few years.
And thanks to yourself and your colleagues in all the bands in the genre, is continuing. Absolutely. So how can people find you? How can
right? So for us, if you are looking on Facebook, just type in Oak Stoner as one word, and we'll come up. But Bandcamp, once again, Oak Stoner Bandcamp will go directly to our material. Yeah, and our next gig it's not in London. We haven't played in London for a while. But our next gig is the 26th or 28th of April in Manchester at Rebellion. That's a great venue, by the way.
Fantastic. And so what I'm going to do is leave us now. And thank you, Andy Valiant from Oak. And what I'm going to do is play another song from Oak 2, Mirage. And then after that, Sabata, I mentioned Yinka, giving a shout out to him because, pleasure of taking them up to Chester to play the gig with 1968, and one of my favorite songs of theirs I'll be playing afterwards, Emperor's New Clothes, taking us through into the second hour here in Phoenix FM. I'm Graham Stannard. Thank you for joining us here tonight, this Thursday evening, for Musical Meanderings over the last couple of hours. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Another wonderful conversation, a reminder how much I enjoy speaking to wonderful people like Andy and having conversations. And, I do enjoy coming down here and, sharing the music that I've been enjoying. But it's good to kind of hear from the artists themselves and get the vibe out there and sustain it. So, thanks for joining me tonight. And,
thank you, Graham.
And look forward to, hearing more of your music and hearing you live. So let's hear Mirage now. And then after that, Sabata and Emperor's New Clothes.